Zenobia, meine teuerste. Ich glaube, bevor ich mich dahin traue, heile ich mich. Die Frau sieht wütend aus.
He reached the summit, expecting no one. But there she was, steaming, pacing.
I'm gonna kill him, she said. I'm gonna kill all his ravens, and then him, and then his family, and all their eggs and tadpoles. And then I'm gonna burn down their pond. Did you go and get the Iblis stone? Do you see all these ravens I killed? So much power.
Are you
Oh,
feeling normal? Because you seem a little bloodthirsty.
Yes, obviously it wants blood. Demons always want blood. You really want power from a demonic rock? You want the stone, don't you? Not really. Good. I'd rather not have to kill you. He told her he loved her. That he wouldn't let the Iblis stone take her, even if he had to die for it. Well, he planned to tell her. Now didn't seem like the right time. She'd probably cool off in a bit. So he let her get in her ship and fly off.
He rushed back to the Farfarer and followed her, keeping a healthy distance.
Zenobia's ship was just visible through the clouds ahead. How could he reason with her? But he had to. The rebels were down for the count. No wonder. He'd betrayed the location of their base and then he'd abandoned them. And if she became Empress while she was in the grip of the Iblis Stone, if she became Empress by murdering her father, she could still be a great Empress. But she could also be a nightmare Empress.
She had to be stopped.
Ach komm schon. Muss ich echt Zenobia aufhalten? Ich will nicht, ich mag Zenobia.
There were more dead ravens along his path. Some of them wounded in the back. He knew she could have easily talked her way past them, or clouded the little tiny raven brains with a spell. She was going out of her way to kill everything in her path. This wasn't Zenobia. Not as he knew her.
Ja, definitiv. Ich will weniger Schaden erleiden. Mein Gott, ich war doch nicht blind. Hier hat es doch irgendwo ein lila Tor gehabt, oder nicht? Zeigen mir immer dieses blöde lila Tor und dann ist es da nicht, weil ich woanders starte. Ach, ich weiß auch nicht. Hier ist nichts. Hier wird ein Haufen Gegner auf mich warten. Negativ. Ach, da ist das lila Tor.
There was a pleasant breeze coming through that door. Had it been closed before?
Oh. Eis. Ach, das ist alles hier. Okay, wie komme ich hier raus? Hallo? Spiel? Meine lieben Freunde, ist dies ein Bug? Nein, ist es nicht. Ab und zu fliegen hier Schiffe vorbei. Ich Idiot. Okay. Okay.
So, his beloved was possessed by the spirit of a demon. That's what it meant to be a hero. To brave the darkness in your loved one's soul. To have faith there was still good in her. To help her out of that darkness, no matter what the cost. But what? What could he do? She'd kill him if he tried to take the Iblis stone from her. I don't have to clean up around here, he thought.
Okay, beim nächsten Mal sollte ich vielleicht den anderen Weg nehmen, der scheint länger.
Everybody knew you shouldn't trust a raven further than you could throw one. But did vertical drop count?
Quasi das ganze Level eigentlich übersprungen durch diese lila Tür. Werde ich in Zukunft unterlassen, definitiv.
This was definitely better than pulling yourself up in a bucket.
Wo sind meine Erfahrungspunkte? Das war doch jetzt ein fabelhafter Kampf, oder nicht? Also gut, Zenobia, töte uns nicht.
Corpses was Zenobia. Her father was frantically rigging a
Oh
strange
je, die
apparatus
Trophäe,
wrapped
die ich
around her
bekommen
glowing
habe, lässt mich
core.
Schlimmes
Don't do it,
vermuten.
he shouted. You'll hate yourself in the morning. Stay back, she screamed in a horrible voice he'd never heard before. It froze him in his tracks. The Emperor stared at him. Run, he told the toad, or hop. But he didn't manage to voice it, only think it. Zenobia stabbed her blade forward, and His Majesty fell dead. She began laughing hysterically. Or was she weeping? Just walk away, she laughed at him. I've no more use for you. There was something he needed to do, but he couldn't figure out what it was. So he did as he was told. As he walked away, he felt a chill in the world. The light in the sky seemed to dim. He didn't dare turn. He had a nagging feeling there was something he should have done just then. Something heroic. But he could not have taken the Iblis stone from her by force, and she would not have parted with it willingly. A cold wind blew from where she had been, but he still didn't dare turn. And then, an awful laughter filled the air, and all the torches and all the ships went out, and he realized what he should have done. But by then, it was too late to do anything. But he'd learned another true thing. Zenobia still had feelings for him.
Geschichte 8, die fehlende Zutat. Ein Held, der glaubt, dass selbst im verdorbensten Freund etwas Gutes steckt. Ein Level Up. Wir haben die Wahrheit. Zenobia hegt Gefühle für Reynardo. Stufe 4 Fähigkeiten freigeschaltet. Was können wir damit anfangen? Ist die wahre Frage.
There would be a way to win. Reynardo could feel it. He'd have to explore choices he'd never made before he could figure it all out, though. And with that, the book's pages fluttered to the beginning once again. And he fell. The clouds parted over the Isles of Boreas. It was time to choose. The rebellion was in trouble. Ravens were scouting for the secret rebel base. They needed a game changer. Pieces of the Sky Ripper had surfaced. Reynardo knew that using it could go catastrophically wrong. But he was
Ich habe noch
sure
die
he
Wahl,
could figure
den
out how to use it
Imperator
safely. Also, a
umzunieten
temple had risen out of empty desert. The Emperor
und
had brought the
ihr
Sky
nicht
Ripper
hinterher
pieces
zu
up
gehen.
out of ancient burial by his obscene rituals.
Und dann natürlich hier der
Could
komplett
this
neue
be where
Weg
the
und
Iblis
alles mit
stone was hidden? Someone better get it before he does,
Betrughasen.
thought Reynardo.
Ich kann das übrigens
And
nicht
also,
überspringen, ich masche Kreis.
his old friend Lapino needed rescuing. Of course, Reynardo had a pretty strong suspicion that Lapino had betrayed the rebellion. But could Reynardo really leave an old friend to the Ravens?
Also nochmal das Sky Ripper.
As he set foot in the island, Reynardo couldn't help feeling a bit curious.
Ja, überspringen wir den ganzen Dialog hier. Holen uns das Gehäuse, gehen zu ihr und versuchen dann ihren... Nee, machen dann alles gleich. Außer, dass wir nicht zu ihr gehen, sondern zu den Rebellen. Genau, das ist der nächste Weg. Noch 59 und wir haben alle Schwerter aufgelevelt. Herrlich.
It would be fun to try out that one. And here was a handy workbench.
Angriffstempo Stufe 2. Nee, weniger Schaden finde ich schon geil. Zumal sobald ich das ausgerüstet hatte, kamen mehr magische Gegner. Das kommt dazu. Also gut, die Glotzer wieder umnieten.
Hey, why don't you guys fight in groups? Oh, I know. Because there's no I in team.
But there's a me.
Had that door been opened before?
You know nothing, Jon Snow.
Wo kommt das denn her? Ah, komm schon. Ah, diese Einspieler, leck mich am Arsch, herrlich. Du weißt nichts, Jon Schnee. Absolut richtig, er weiß auch nichts, er ist ein blöder Penner gewesen, total überflüssig. Da, ihr habt's gehört, ich hasse Jon Schnee.
That had been his mistake before. Not trusting Zenobia's feelings for him. But how could he have known? After all these years of silence?
Ah, okay, ich komme nicht zurück. Das ist jetzt auch nicht schlimm.
No skateboarding, the sign said.
Ah, das war jetzt nicht so geil.
Renato checked to make sure his sword was still working. Yep. Chests that shiny deserve to be opened. Anyone ever tell you have a lovely eye? No?
Ich weiß gar nicht, warum ich die töte. Die bringen keine Erfahrungspunkte und geben mir nichts, aber ich finde es lustig, sie so in zwei Hälften rumliegen zu sehen. Ah, diesmal löse ich das Rätsel und hole mir die Kiste. Und jetzt muss ich es nicht mehr lösen, jetzt kann ich hier durch die Türen gehen.
You couldn't hack this kind of firewall. You had to warm it up to you.
Nice.
A gem of power. Ooh, you didn't find those every day.
Ja, doch, inzwischen irgendwie ja schon. Ah, noch ein paar Erz. Dann sind wir durch. Und haben alle Schwerter voll ausgelevelt. Auch die, die wir nicht benutzen. Oh, ein Level Up. Definitiv. Da geht auch das erste nächste Level schon für rein.
There it
Wenn's
was.
so sicher ist.
Sky Ripper's armature. The stuff that dreams are made of.
Ja.
Engineers' dreams, anyway. How is it part of a weapon at all? He'd have to ask a scientist. But first,
Nein, ich
he'd
hole
get the
Zenobia
second
wieder.
piece. Sky Ripper had a heart. A core that had come to rest on the next island. Well, there was another island he could reach. Zenobia had just invaded it with her father's Raven battalions. She must be encamped there still. But fighting Zenobia now, that made no sense at all.
Doch, es
He'd
macht
already
Sinn. Lass mich
sacrificed
dahin.
one friend to get this armature, was it? He didn't need to hurry to face her. She would find him. Renato asked himself why he...
Crits.
The truth is, though, he wanted to see her, wasn't it? It had been a dozen years since Swordfu School. He'd followed every rumor about her, every scrap of news. Not that he still loved her. After all, she was his enemy. No, it was solely because, know your enemy. All right, maybe he should stop pretending. He knew exactly how she felt about him. But their love affair always ended with a tragic death. Unless, maybe he could find a way to dodge tragedy. Surely he could, couldn't he?
Hey! I got this friend who's a swan. Could he join up? He dyes his feathers?
Sometimes, at home, he'd wave his sword around for hours.
Okay, das war jetzt nicht ganz meine Absicht. Ja, stimmt, da kamen wir nicht rein.
People had laughed at the government workbench placement program, but you could see the benefits everywhere. This chest was filled with old concert t-shirts. And something useful. The right jewel could really give you an edge. The wrong, well, it still looked pretty, didn't it?
Und damit haben wir alle Juwelen auf Stufe 3. Somit sind die roten Schatzkisten nun auch für den Arsch.
He couldn't do worse with Zenobia than he'd done with the core, could he?
Ah, the road less traveled, thought Renato. How intriguing.
Bin ich beim letzten Mal auch hier entlang gelatscht? Nee, bin ich nicht.
Well, the eyes have had it. Renato wasn't entirely sure how he was going to capture Zenobia. She'd be expecting him. And he didn't have Lapino to cook up a clever plan. Why was it again that he hadn't got the core? Maybe because the results tended to be disastrous. These streets were familiar. The Swordfu School was closed now, but he had been down that street 1,000 times. He knew that pub. He knew that alley. He knew the alley behind it much too well. No wonder Zenobia had chosen to invade this island herself.
Ah, leider kein Level Up. Ich dachte, ich könnte mir hier noch eins holen. Ja gut, ich bin weit weg. Immer noch nicht. Also gut, nimm mich gefangen.
Renato slinked through Zenobia's ship, making no sound at all.
Ob sich diesmal was ändert, weil ich weiß, dass sie auf mich steht.
Finally, he reached her bedroom. She was curled up on her bed. Oh, he'd forgotten how beautiful she was. How sleek. How soft. He tapped her on the shoulder with his sword.
Nein.
She vanished. And he suddenly noticed he couldn't move except his mouth. In fact, Sudi couldn't keep his mouth shut. He told Zenobia everything. Sky Ripper, the rebellion plans, even where the secret rebel base was, until he was hoarse. It was some kind of truth spell. A talky truth spell. She called her father by Farspeaker Toad and filled His Majesty in.
But why didn't he get the core?
Croaked the Farspeaker in something like His Majesty's croak. Because I missed you, darling. Renato grinned. He doesn't even know why, frowned Zenobia.
That makes no sense. It's a trap.
Shouted the Emperor.
I'll meet you at the outpost, and I'll bring my interrogators.
If Renato came face to face with the Emperor, maybe he could assassinate him. But maybe it would be smarter and safer to turn Zenobia against her father.
Also die Optionen hier sind immer noch dieselben.
What are you doing? Asked Zenobia. Did you ever wonder
Why the Emperor adopted you? He asked her.
Ich gucke mir das jetzt nur an wegen meinem Wissen.
He told her. His Majesty wanted to bring the lost gods back. They could make him an eater of souls, an immortal. But to seal his bargain with them, he needed a sacrifice. Someone who truly loved him. She was stunned. Furious. You're lying. Under a truce spell? It's a truce.
Ach komm. Nerv mich nicht.
What kind of proof could you possibly have?
Also. Level up noch 4000 Punkte. Diesmal gehen wir zum Rebellenlager, einfach nur um zu gucken, welches Ende wir freischalten. So werde ich es machen. Ich werde alle Enden nach und nach freischalten. So soll man das Spiel, glaube ich, spielen. Und so werde ich es auch spielen. Ich meine, ich habe auch schon 3 Wahrheiten gefunden, also läuft es auch in der Hinsicht mal gar nicht schlecht. Wahrscheinlich finde ich das wahre Ende, bevor ich alle Enden finde.